This is start, bench, or sell CDL Edition with the ARs. We're going to have Scrappy, Dashy, and Selim. As you can see from the overlay, I'm going to decide to keep and start Scrappy, bench Optic Dashy, and get rid of Selim. Now let's go through my reasoning. I'm sure some of you agree. I'm sure some of you disagree, and that's absolutely fine. So starting off with the reasoning, what's my kind of criteria here? Well, if I'm an org owner and I'm going through and I have these three options, who am I going to build around? What am I going to go with? Now, the reason why I went with keeping Scrappy is because for me, he is a consistent slayer. And I think slaying is one of my things I value the most in a player. But not only does he slay well, he also can have the ability to carry. As we saw with Toronto Ultra, the guy carried that team for the duration he was there. Obviously, he had Phoenix as well, playing really well. But when he was like, you know, I would say he was the most consistent player since joining the CDO in his time. He's been the most consistent player in my opinion. Maybe you have the phase players up there as well, but for someone not on phase, like, he has definitely been one of the best players. And even last year, I remember the times where he single-handedly would beat Atlanta phase. That really impressed me personally. And I feel like someone like that, if I'm building around, unbelievable player, and that's why I'm going with him for my starter. Then we go for Dashy and Selim. Now, why am I getting rid of Selim out of everyone? Well, I don't think that Selim's the worst player. I don't think any of them are bad players, and they're all amazing, all top S tier players. But I think with Scrappy, like I mentioned, I think we get a bit more out of him. And I think just for the team, like, he is just going to be such a consistent slayer that the team will always have a chance. With Selim, I think, like, we've seen at times where he does go missing a little bit and he isn't really as valuable as maybe he should be. Now, I will say this season, he has been unbelievable. I'm talking about just overall, like, last 2-3 years. Like, there's times where he wasn't playing too well, and that's really the reason. But if you're going on form, yeah, sure, I would say Dashy is probably in the bottom. But I'm talking overall as a player, if I'm investing in this player for my team, right? So I think Selim can have moments where he goes missing a little bit compared to the other two and kind of like doesn't get involved as much. I think if his team isn't playing too well, he might not be the guy to turn the needle in his head. That's the only reason. Where with Dashy, the reason I put him number 2 here is because with Dashy, I've seen him become a slayer, be one of the best slayers in the world. They didn't really play too well. Then the way he adapted his playstyle to become more of like a, you know, an actual champion and play the heel and let his teammates really go ahead of him and kind of take over the game. I just really value that playstyle change. And I think, again, if I'm building a team, I don't know who else I'm getting on my organization, right? So I'm always going to value floor raisers, players that can improve the floor of my team. And I think Scrappy will make my team, you know, improve the most because he's a consistent slayer. I think Dashy will improve the most because he can either be that slayer or he can adapt and be the hill guy and kind of play objective and work around that. And then Selim, I think, unbelievable, like I said. But I think out of the three, he's probably the one that I would say that maybe would raise the ceiling of the floor, probably the lowest. But if we have a really good team and like at his role of holding lanes and holding power position, I think Selim's the best. So again, it just depends what you want in a team. For me, I'm going to value Scrappy as number 1, Dashy as number 2, and Selim as number 3. Let me know what you guys think down below, and I'll catch you guys for another video later on today. Peace.